So firstly, I'd just like to apologise for the messy, wet hair. Got out of the shower, but I can't be bothered to, well, dry my hair or, Anyway, Daredevil Season 3 is probably the most hotly anticipated Marvel Netflix show we've had in a while because, well, it's part of the Daredevil series, which is commonly considered to be the best Marvel Netflix show. To be honest, no one really cared about Luke Cage Season 2, no one really cared about Iron Fist Season 2, but everyone was super excited for Daredevil Season 3 just because the first two seasons, Daredevil really is the best superhero show on TV right now, probably ever. And so I had, pretty high expectations going in. And I'm going to say it right now, Daredevil really is the best superhero show on TV, the best live-action superhero show on TV. And in many ways, like anything and everything that comes out around this time looks like garbage compared to Daredevil. And I do mean Titans, because I've been watching it and it's not like... Anyway, let's talk about Daredevil Season 3. I want to break it down a little bit because I have a lot to say. So firstly, let's talk about the filmmaking. Part of why I love the Marvel Netflix shows so much is because they feel so much more well-crafted and well thought out than the CW shows, which I used to watch but I don't watch anymore. And the Daredevil series has really, really been one of the best when it comes to thoughtful, meaningful, well-crafted filmmaking, whether it's the awesome long-take action scenes or the way that, simple conversation scenes are blocked and shot and edited. And if you've seen my video on Nocturnal Animals, which came out a couple of weeks ago, then you'd probably know that I'm someone who's really into making these smaller conversation scenes and, just anything, just feel a little bit more meaningful. And that's exactly what they did. Like, from the first episode, I was just hooked. Like, when Nadeem was talking to Wilson Fisk, it is shot in a way that is just everything I could ever ask for. Whenever Nadeem's talking, you see Wilson Fisk constantly in the frame. Like, he's taking up like 3/4 of the frame to show his dominance on Nadeem. But then when it's a shot of Fisk, he's framed like dead center. And that's exactly the type of thoughtful filmmaking that I want out of a show like this, or any show, to be honest. And that's just one small tiny example of a show that does this almost every time. And this shot that I'm showing you right now basically sums up everything you need to know about the show. It is cool, it is inventive, it's stylish, it's dynamic, it simply works so well. And honestly, you just don't see this type of stuff in the CW show or in any other show. Honestly, this is the type of stuff that Matt Reeves is going to be doing with the Batman movie, just you wait. And of course, now that we're talking about filmmaking, we have to talk about the action sequences because they're just the best. And I'm not just talking about TV, I'm talking about just in general. They are just the best, right? So every Daredevil season so far, we've had a great long take sequence. And this one is masterful. It is honestly masterful. There are one or two instances where the hidden cuts are quite clear, but for the most part, it is pretty damn masterful. And Charlie Cox is basically doing all of his own stunts. And not only that, there's an action scene and they stop for like a 2-3 minute conversation sequence that's damn compelling. And then it goes on to another action scene, which is just so well choreographed and it's just perfect. Or Daredevil's fight with Bullseye, who is played so well by Wilson Bethel. Like, this guy, he's already become like one of the iconic MCU, not MCU, but like Marvel Netflix villains. He's so well written, he's so well acted. And their fight is just amazing. Again, it's also done in an awesome long take that is completely unflinching and unrelenting in its presentation of the choreography. And within that fight, they make Bullseye so much more scary than any other villain I've seen in the Marvel Netflix universe from a sort of a physical point of view. Because of course someone like Killgrave is of course very, very intimidating. But it's not often that we have a villain in this universe that is kind of the physical equals, the physical superior to our main character, our hero. And that's exactly what Bullseye was. We'd never really seen Daredevil meet his match. Of course, he's fought like Elektra and Nobu and stuff like that, but, he's beaten them, with a relative level of ease. But with Bullseye, he loses most fights. And they make Bullseye so much scarier than someone like Deadshot, for example. They show his abilities so clearly and with so much badassery within like the first 5-6 minutes. Like, one of my favorite moments in the entire Netflix Marvel history is just this one right here. It's just a simple whip pan, and it sums up everything you need to know about the character. It's so awesome. It's just so awesome. This is like, Daredevil honestly makes it look easy. You know, Daredevil really does make it look easy. Like, I watch something like Iron Fist and I'm like, okay, it's good, but it honestly looks like garbage compared to Daredevil. No offense to the people in Iron Fist, and I guess that's why I got cancelled, because everything looks horrible compared to Daredevil. It's just incredible. And then we have to talk about the final fight. It's just awesome. One or two minor issues I have with that final fight. Number one, I think Wilson Fisk's suit looks so cheap. Like, it's just this really weird shiny material that looks like a Halloween costume and not an actual suit. And the second issue I have is that, you know, he gives his jacket to Vanessa because it's armored. It's got like the John Wick armor. But then why doesn't he have the same armor on his waistcoat? Because it's the same material, surely. But anyway, that fight is I think they really showed off the awesome filmmaking with some of the earlier fight scenes. But then that final fight, it was just this brutal, raw, and unrelenting fight that was just very simple in its filmmaking, in its execution. But they really hammered it home through the details. Like, Wilson Fisk tries to punch Poindexter and he dodges, and Wilson Fisk hits the wall and he cracks the wall and he just screams in pain. Or when they do this, which is just like the most awesome use of sound design ever. It's just this big like of like force. It's just awesome. So let's talk about the story. This is definitely a lot more focused and a lot more simple than Daredevil Season 2. And I think Daredevil Season 2 is the only story that really needed 13 episodes. It needed more than 13 episodes, really, because you were having the Punisher story and the Elektra story kind of going in parallel. But this one is a lot more focused, it's a lot more grounded, it has a lot less characters. And I like that. It's going back to its roots, and it's looking at the main central conflict, which is the conflict between Daredevil and Wilson Fisk. And the way that they handled that was just, it was almost Dark Knight-esque. In fact, that final moment when Daredevil takes off his mask and just shouts at Wilson Fisk like, "I beat you." That is like Dark Knight level stuff. Like, I honestly, like, I don't know, it might grow on me even more, it might, you know, not grow on me anymore, but that might just be the best hero on villain confrontation since the interrogation scene. It might just be. It is just masterful. It is masterful writing, masterful acting. It's just amazing. And like I said, the story is a lot more simple, and this is where we run into probably the biggest issue with this show, and the only reason really why I won't give it an A+. The stupid fucking decision to go with 13 episodes. What is your problem, Netflix? I thought you had solved this with Iron Fist Season 2, which was 10 episodes, and really well paced, and it's really fast paced and exciting. What the fuck were you thinking going back to 13 episodes? What are you thinking? Do you have any idea how much that takes away from the energy and momentum and urgency of your show? Do you get that at all? Like, it really pisses me off that they still haven't learned that lesson, because if you go back and watch anyone on YouTube reviews of these shows, whether it's Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, anyone, everyone always says that the only problem with these shows is that they're 13 episodes long and not 10. This is so stupid. I don't get how they haven't figured this out yet. There is so much shit that could be just taken out, like the first half an hour to 40 minutes of like episode 10 or 11, which is this Karen Page flashback, which is completely useless and unnecessary, something that should have been in season 1. Or there are just tons of subplots which didn't need to be there, right? There are, of course, moments where like they take their time to flesh out characters, like Nadeem, for example. I love that they took the time to build his relationship with his family, because it gave him more depth and gave him more impact when he died, and he was a great character, played so well by J.R. Lee. And, you know, they do take their time to flesh out the characters, and they are patient with that, and I appreciate that. But why would you waste time, especially towards the end of the season, fleshing out stuff like the Karen storyline? And I would say that Karen and Foggy, as great as they were in the previous seasons, and as great as the actors are, were kind of useless this season, and they were kind of dead weight. Like, when Karen goes to have dinner with, like, her boss's, like, nephew or whatever, that was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then with Foggy, like, he's good, okay? Like, he's a good character and he has some awesome moments, but he just takes up way too much time. Don't just have him, like, talking to his girlfriend about his perfect life or whatever. I don't really care about any of that, okay? I care about the struggle between Daredevil, Kingpin, and Bullseye, because it was awesome. It was just so awesome. Like, the way they presented his flashback in black and white, no one else does that. And it's just awesome. It's just really like great outside of the box thinking. Let's talk about the characters. Number one, of course, Daredevil. He was awesome. Charlie Cox is awesome. He gives a great performance every time, and I love that from the very beginning of the show. You begin with him at his rock bottom. Like, he is at the lowest low you could possibly go for, and it's so awesome because, you know, it makes the triumphant moments that much more triumphant. And that was portrayed really well. And a similar situation was Bullseye, who was also at a kind of an all-time low, and he was kind of elevated through his relationship with Kingpin, and then brought to an all-time low, and then elevated again. I haven't really talked that much about Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio, who just... his performance is just out of this world. He is so good. He nails every beat, and I think he knows the character back to front. And just like Wilson Bethel as Bullseye, these two are just like, they're so good because you actually feel for them in many ways. Like, when you almost want them to succeed, which was amazing. Like, you don't get that with most villains. But anyway, great characters, great story, great action, great filmmaking, stupid, childish structure. What were you thinking with the 13 episodes? It just really grinds my gears. It really does. So, grade-wise, probably give it an A. Episode 1 to 6 is like this. And it just kind of dips, and then it gets back again, and then it dips, and then gets back again. But with the 10 episodes, it could have just been like this. It could have just been highs all the time. But anyway, guys, that was my review for Daredevil Season 3. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But, God, if there's a Season 4, you better make damn sure it's 10 episodes. Just do it, okay? Just do it. Anyway, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed Daredevil Season 3. If you haven't watched it yet, well, you probably shouldn't have watched this because it was full of spoilers. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you.